Good evening from Normandy. As you can see, I've got my hands pretty full with these two, and that's the reason why I haven't been able to edit any of the films that I've taken, because we've had quite a few problems with this hatch, which for us has been a bit traumatic, but hopefully will make for some good and useful films and things to share about what can happen, what can go wrong. So these two are now, they were hatched on the 3rd of July. So that makes them, what, 3 weeks old? And they're pretty feisty. They're very, very friendly, but unfortunately we're filming this at around their dinner time, and I've given them half their dinner, and that is not very satisfactory. So this film is going to be about choosing a hen for your quail and about making the nest.
I usually like to pick a hen that I've seen have chicks before, because this gives me an idea of how she reacts to them, and also that she's a very serious broody hen.
She obviously heard a change in their voices and knew that some of them were cold and wanted her to sit on them, and she actually came up to me and pecked me on the leg. I put her in and they immediately came round her and she sat down. That is one clever chicken.
So the first thing is, what do I know about this hen? How does she react with chicks? Is she more concerned about finding them food? Does she notice when they're cold? Because the killer for quail is the cold. So they've got to be kept warm, and they've got to be kept very warm for the first week or so of their life. So they need to be under that hen. Now, I like the hen to stay in the nest as long as possible after hatch, so I make the nest into a feeding and playing area as well. It's not necessarily true that a hen that is very light and small is actually very light on its feet or very good with quail. Quail are very different to hen chicks. They are precocial and do not really need a mother except for warmth. But I want my quail chicks to learn their old ways of finding food, and the hen will teach them. She'll also teach them to be mothers as well, which is really useful. And this has been borne out by the fact that the hens that raised my quail, then these quail went on to raise their own chicks. Often frizzles make good quail mothers. This is because of the nature of their feathers, also their personality as well. What happens with them is the quail are able to burrow down into the feathers, but there aren't so many feathers as there are in a well-upholstered hen. And this is where bad things can happen, because it's the quail chick's nature to burrow right down into those feathers. And unfortunately with the hen, they can get wrapped up in those feathers, and when the hen gets up, they can be caught up and they can be strangled. Or the hen can kick because she can feel something on her feathers dangling, and therefore she can kick and kill them. You'll need to be able to intervene with that hen. This is another reason that you need a hen that trusts you. So have a pair of nail scissors handy as well, because this can save the life of your little quail. You may have to cut the quail out of the feathers.
So usually I forget when I put eggs in, so I started putting it on the box itself, which is quite useful. So you can add up to, well, normally it's 16 days for quail. So they went in on the 16th of June and in the evening. And this is a typical sort of box that I'd use for a quail hatch. It's nice and deep, and it needs to be deep because quail can jump. They practice flying from quite an early age, so you need to be well contained. And I like to have it so that I actually had one hen who actually built it up herself, but I like to have it so it's got nice deep sides so the eggs won't come out. They'll naturally flow down into the middle, so she'll have no problem in keeping them all together. When you come to take her off, First thing you've got to remember is she may be brooding some under her wings, so just lift the wings up gently and then you can lift her off. And you can see they're all sitting in there, very well spaced apart. She's a really good hen. She uses her wings to keep them all in as well. If she turns round, I've watched her, and she keeps them together, and then now and again she gives them a little jiggle. And when your hen is away off the eggs, then I like to cover the eggs with something like this, which is a little hand knitted, actually was a leg warmer, but something like that, which will keep them nice and warm while she's away. There you go. Guide her in. Yeah. And this makes a nice surface for them. They can not only eat the moss and dig into it, which is an activity for them, a learning activity, but also it means the hen will present food to them on that moss, and it's a very good surface for that because they'll be able to eat the food off it without any bits of debris sticking onto that food, because you don't want your quail to be consuming large quantities of clippings or bits of straw, because that can impact the crop. So these are just the preliminaries, and I hope these are useful ideas for you. But if you get your hen right, you get your nest right, and you feel comfortable, then going forward everything is so much more easy. There are things that can go wrong, but at least you've covered many of them. Thanks for watching.